It is episode 485 of the Locked On Texas Rangers podcast. Justin Verlander apparently threw for the Rangers and some other teams. Also, Joey Gallo won a Gold Glove. We're not going to talk much about that. The Rangers hired a new hitting coach and a couple of interesting players that, for some reason that I cannot explain, didn't receive qualifying offers from their teams that I think the Rangers should absolutely take a look at in free agency this offseason. Coming up on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked on to the Texas Rangers. I'm your host, Brice Paterik, here today with a lot more news on this Monday than I thought the Rangers would have at this point in very, very early November. I want to thank you for making Locked On Rangers your first listen of the day every day. And I also want to apologize for two of my neighbors that apparently have the need to hammer things exactly when I'm recording a podcast. I don't know if they're spying on me, but it feels like the only time they make noise is when I'm starting a podcast. Not just one neighbor, but two neighbors have been hammering on things for an hour. I've been waiting for them to stop. So I just go ahead and, figure I'd knock this episode out and, we'll live with the hammering noises, and hopefully this microphone won't pick that up. It'll just pick up my voice talking about all the many, many things that are happening with the Rangers. Let's start with the most Rangers-centric news. This weekend, the Rangers hired former Red Sox hitting coach Tim Hyers, who is a great hire. They decided to part ways. He wanted to seek other opportunities. He just was apparently done with Boston. So the Rangers get a great break. Apparently, he was also being talked to by the Yankees. So not sure how he decided to come to the Rangers instead of the Yankees. Maybe he thought, you know what, there's too many good hitters on the Yankees. I want more of a challenge. And boy, the Rangers are most definitely a challenge. But the stuff he did with the personnel that he had, obviously a much better group of hitters the Red Sox have than the Rangers. But from 2018 to 2021, that was how long he was the Red Sox hitting coach. Boston was first in runs, first in batting average, first in slugging percentage, first in OPS, first in extra base hits. Also average with runners in scoring position. They're first in that. Average with 2 strikes, first, and 2 strike RBIs. They were first in Major League Baseball, according to Red Sox notes on Twitter. So, those are some good numbers. I mean, the Red Sox obviously have a much better personnel, but let's look at this year. Obviously, last year was a big down year for the Red Sox, but this year their hitting absolutely carried them. It was the reason they made it as far as they did. The reason that they I don't know if they nearly won their division because the Rays were pretty much running away with it, but it's the reason they were able to do so well and were leading the division for so long. When people thought this team doesn't have the pitching staff to do this, they had incredible hitters. They were third in weighted on base average, or WOBA, where the Rangers are 30th this year. Not really great in strikeout percentage. The Rangers were towards the bottom in that. Boston didn't do super duper well. They were 20th in that. So, but the Rangers were, let's see. Oh, actually the one category where they were ahead of Boston, Rangers were 14th. But in walk percentage, this team was absolutely terrible at taking walks. And it would have been much, much worse if it weren't for Joey Gallo. The Rangers walked in 7.3% of their plate appearances, which is 29th in Major League Baseball, just behind the Orioles at 7.5 and just ahead of the Kansas City Royals at 7.0. But I have no doubt that if Joey Gallo was gone at the beginning of the season, they would have been well below that. Whereas Boston, where are they at in here? Still 20th. I keep picking the wrong stats to prove my point. But through the other metrics, through actually scoring runs, actually hitting home runs, all kinds of good stuff like that, the Red Sox were among the best. They had a great team filled with great hitters. I mean, when you have Xander Bogaerts, Rafael Devers, Kike Hernandez, Hunter Renfroe, JD Martinez, and also you add the guys that they did down the stretch that make them much, much better as well in Kyle Schwarber. I guess mainly just Kyle Schwarber. But that's going to be a good offense. And granted, they were shut down by Houston in the postseason, but Houston was shutting out a lot of offenses there. But the point is, with the new bench coach, which is going to be the offensive coordinator and do a lot of good stuff there, And with this new hitting coach, I have a lot of faith in what the Rangers are going to do offensively. Granted, it's the same personnel there, but we're going to see Josh Young there as well. That's going to be new. To be a bigger bat in the lineup. Hopefully they can keep some of the magic alive of Adolis Garcia and some of the stuff that he's done. That would be really exciting. I would love to see that. And there's a lot of room to work with. This Rangers offense, there's a lot of guys that have shown potential. Nick Solak has shown that he has a lot of hitting potential. Willie Calhoun is a guy who still we haven't gotten the best out of his bat either. Nathaniel Lowe showed some promise in hitting breaking balls. They can work on him being able to hit fastballs, then that would be amazing, and actually hitting more long balls. And, a 357 on base is solid, but I would like to see a higher slugging percentage than 415. If you're going to be an offense first baseman, you got to be higher than that. Granted, he was above average offensive when it came to first baseman because of 113 OPS plus. One of two Rangers at the end of the season who had a positive OPS plus. Actually, no, strike that. Andy Ibanez in 76 games had a 107 OPS plus, where, in case you forgot, 100 is average. And Adolis Garcia, just barely above average. 101, 101 OPS plus, just barely above average. I mean, Joey Gallo had a 139 OPS plus. Also, he won a Gold Glove. Shout out to Joey Gallo, who won a Gold Glove, I believe Sunday night. I don't know. It's been hard keeping track of all this nonsense. And for more than one reason, he kind of kept Adolis Garcia from winning a Gold Glove because if Joey Gallo wasn't there the whole season, Adolis probably would have been playing more right field. I guess it's more on Leote then, but Leote being bad is the whole reason that Adolis got called up. But also, if he was playing center field all year, then maybe we would have seen more Adolis in left field, where he almost assuredly would have beaten out Andrew Benintendi for the Gold Glove in left field. But it's fine. Michael A. Taylor of the Royals won the center field Gold Glove there. And Joey Gallo, who is also up for the Silver Slugger at DH, where he played, I think, 16 games this year. That's a thing. Some other guys who are in the American League West, specifically, who won Gold Gloves. Sean Murphy, the catcher of the A's. Dallas Keuchel won another Gold Glove, which, he's not in the AL West, but I figure that's worth noting. Obviously, third base went to exactly who we all thought it would. Carlos Correa won the Gold Glove at shortstop. In case you didn't know who I was talking about, it's Matt Chapman. So a lot of Gold Glovers around the division. Marcus Semien, congrats to him, his first year playing second base, and he won a Gold Glove there. Yuli Gurriel of the Astros, sure, fine, he won a Gold Glove at first base. And for some reason, a whole lot of Cardinals won Gold Gloves. I mean, Nolan Arenado is great. Harrison Bader is great. Paul Goldschmidt, pretty solid. I don't know much about Tommy Edman, but it feels a little bit like a conspiracy, not like a real conspiracy that actually matters, but the Gold Gloves there. I believe the awards were handed out in St. Louis. Rawlings, who it's their sponsor of all the gloves, whatever. They're based in St. Louis. Maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe not. I didn't watch enough Cardinals games to know, but I like just throwing around blind conspiracies when they have very, very low stakes and aren't actually harmful, and just anything to kind of, take a dump on anything good that the Cardinals are doing, because, I still hate them. I hate them for a while. It's fine. It's just a sports hate. No harm, no foul. But Rangers have a new hitting coach, but that's not what we're going to talk about mostly today. We've talked a little bit about it, but there's a lot of pitchers, older pitchers even, some guys one guy in particular that you definitely didn't think about the Rangers getting. But these two veterans that I'm going to focus on, who I think the Rangers should take big swings at and go for the stars and get these guys for the rotation next year to help bring up the young guns and honestly just give us something nice to look at for the next season that is also going to be a rebuild and veteran leadership for seasons to come. But first, this word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by DirecTV Stream. Does this sound familiar? You've got one device that lets you catch the game live, another that lets you stream your favorite shows, you're watching sports highlights on your phone, and you've got your neighbor's best friend's login for the good stuff. Well, I want to tell you about a simple way to get all the entertainment you love without the hassle, and a great way to finally get your TV together. It's called DirecTV Stream. It brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, so you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. Doesn't that sound great? That means no more juggling remotes, no need to buy another device ever again, because there are so many devices. Keeping track of all these remotes is always very difficult, and the best part, there's no annual contract. So get rid of the clutter and the confusion. Get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. That's directtv.com. Compatible device required. Content varies by package. Now let's talk about these two big names that were recently linked to the Rangers, according to Britt Giroli of The Athletic. She is a senior writer, senior MLB writer at The Athletic. The Yankees, Tigers, and Rangers were among the clubs who saw Verlander throw today, and she heard that it was a pretty good turnout. So I don't know what that means, but I know that they were there. And we might not have thought about Justin Verlander for a while. I sure hadn't, because he didn't pitch this year, and he only pitched in one game last year. So it's been basically 2 years since we have thought about Justin Verlander. But in case you forgot, last time he pitched, he was a Cy Young. The year before that, Cy Young runner-up. Also 11th in MVP voting the year he won the Cy Young, and 10th the year he got second. He's already got an MVP. Stop voting pitchers for MVP. Just stop it. Just stop it. The only 2 times where it's been, there's really never been a time that I felt that it was super, super, important, but or like merited. But I don't know. I have a hard time saying that Clayton Kershaw didn't deserve it the year that he had a 1.77 ERA in just under 200 innings back in 2014. So actually, both these guys are former MVPs and former Cy Young Award winners. Both these guys have multiple Cy Youngs. Somehow Justin Verlander only has 2 Cy Youngs. It's kind of insane to me that he only has 2 when he's been so stinking good for so long. I believe it was 2012 or was it 20? No, it was 2018. It was 2018 that he was absolutely robbed and didn't win the Cy Young. Actually, Blake Snell might have been a little bit better than him that year. Granted, he pitched in how many fewer innings was it than him that year? 30, 34-ish, give or take. Or was it 2012, the year when Kate Upton went on her rant about how screwed he was? I don't know. David Price was really good that year too. Maybe it was some other year. But anyway, these are both all-time great guys, some of the best pitchers of their era. Definitely the best American League pitcher of the 2010s. I feel like that's pretty easy to say, especially since he actually pitched all those years. He didn't miss any time until the 2020s started. He was 27 in 2010, was an all-star in 2007, 2009, 2009 through 2013, actually, and then wasn't an all-star again until his first full year in Houston in 2018, was an all-star in back-to-back years there. And like I said, the back-to-back top 2 Cy Young finishes. But also, like I said, it's been a while since he's pitched. He had Tommy John surgery towards the end of 2020 in the fall. He only pitched in 1 game, 6 innings in 2020, struck out 7 in those 6 innings, only allowed 2 runs, 1 home run. But it's literally 1 start, so those stats don't really matter that much. He pitched in 200 innings back-to-back in actually a long time. Let's see. 2015 was the 1 year in this long streak that he didn't pitch 200 innings from, let's see, where did this start? Oh my goodness. 2007 all the way to 2019. Every year except for 2015 when he pitched 133 innings. He threw at least 200 innings. Even the year before that, his actual rookie year, he pitched 186 innings. That's absolutely unreal. Even at age 36, he threw 223 innings, which led the American League. 34 starts. He's pitching in 30 starts pretty much every game. He's been super consistent. He's not lost a whole lot on his fastball. I'm sure he will a little bit when he comes back, because that's just kind of how things go. But he's been a primary fastball guy, and to be able to do that as well as he has for as long as he has been really impressive. I mean, his fastball averaged 95 miles an hour in 2018, 94.6 in 2019, 95.3 in 2017, and 95 in 2018. So it's been right around the same for all those years, but he's getting a lot older. It's not that often you get to see guys he's 38 now. He's going to turn 39 at the end of February of the upcoming year. He's probably going to sign a shorter term deal, because there's not a whole lot of guys that are pitching at a very, very old age. You think of guys like Rich Hill, who had a very solid season at age 41 for the Tampa Bay Rays and the Mets. Still have no idea why the Rays traded him, other than that's just what they do. He's probably going to look to pitch next year. Did really solid at a 3.87 ERA for Tampa Bay in 19 starts, 95 innings. Had a really, really solid start and then kind of fell off a little bit towards the middle of the season. But that makes sense. He was in the freaking AL East where he had to go up against all these guys that are just power bats, including all of Boston's bats that I just listed. Most of those are right-handed. He is left-handed. Also Toronto, also the Yankees. Yeah, that's a lot of tough hitters to face multiple times, but he did very solid. And then when he went to the Mets, he pitched in 13 games, 12 of those were starts, 63 innings, a 3.84 ERA. So he is, more the outlier than the norm. Nolan Ryan is a guy who pitched for a long time, and I'm getting super Nolan Ryan-y vibes of them looking at any of these guys. He is a Hall of Famer, 8-time All-Star, and pitched till he was 46 years old. 46. He also had a top 5 Cy Young finish in his age 42 season, his final All-Star year. That was his first year in Texas. That year, in case you don't remember, was 1989. That was the first time he pitched in Texas, was at the end of his career, hit all these big major milestones in a Rangers uniform. That's why everyone remembers him there. But of the teams that he played for, Texas was tied for the least. He pitched for the Mets for 5 years, pitched for the California Angels for 8 years, Houston for 9 years. And like I said, the Rangers for 5 years towards the end of his career. But anyway, in that 1989 season, his age 42 season, had a 3.20 ERA, 239 innings, 301 strikeouts, which I'm pretty darn sure is still the Texas Rangers franchise record. Just a really solid guy, but definitely the outlier. I don't expect to see many guys that are in his age 45 season, his next to last season, pitched 157 innings. Age 45. Absolutely insane. But there is only one Nolan Ryan. Though Justin Verlander does give me kind of similar vibes as him, especially since he's, a little older, but he's also a little bit better at not walking people, which very important nowadays. Nolan Ryan was a big walk machine, the all-time leader in strikeouts and walks, which is pretty impressive to do, put up those kind of numbers, but definitely not the all-time leader in strikeouts to walks. But we're to quick break and come back and look a little bit more at some of these other guys, including Clayton Kershaw, and why I think his injury might actually help the Rangers' chances, though I don't wish an injury on anybody. But also something the Dodgers did that made me question if they're for real about bringing back their all-time great. Coming up after this word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Built Bar. I love Thanksgiving, all the good foods and treats, and plenty of them. But maybe you want a yummy dessert that isn't so full of calories and sugar. I know I do. And, that means it's the perfect time for Built Bars. Built Bar is the new holiday dessert. You can feast on something delicious and feel really good about it. An average slice of pie could have upwards of 300 calories, and that's like on the low end. Most Built Bars only have 130 calories, only 4 grams of sugar with plenty of protein. You can replace that coconut cream pie with coconut Built Bar, or go for a raspberry Built Bar instead of that raspberry pie. Lots of good flavors to replace any pie. Pies aren't always covered in 100% chocolate, but Built Bars are. So, they're low calorie, low carb, high protein, high fiber, and you can share them at your family gatherings. It'll make things less awkward, because if your mouth is full of Built Bar, then you can't share your controversial opinions or your criticisms of your family members. It's much harder to do that with a Built Bar in your mouth. Also puts you in a good mood, so maybe your family is less likely to criticize you or your life, or just say mean, weird things. I don't know. Maybe shut them up with the Built Bar. I feel like that might be the best way to improve Thanksgiving is with a Built Bar. There's new surprises all month. So limited time flavors dropping at built.com regularly. Check the site often. There is nothing like a Built Bar Black Friday. So mark your calendar, the Friday after Thanksgiving, instead of, shopping online or at a Walmart or some other place and fighting with people. You can just, grab a Built Bar and then, save those up for Christmas and make Christmas also much better with your family by making them nicer to you by having Built Bars. So go to built.com, use promo code LOCKED15. You'll get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. Now, what happened with Clayton Kershaw, and why on earth would the Dodgers not want him back? He is an all-timer. He won a ring with them. He is the best pitcher of his generation. sorry, Justin Verlander. It's like their primes are right in the middle of each other, and Jacob deGrom is kind of in there too. He was more towards the later half of these guys' prime. His prime is absolutely right now. But I got to say, it's got to be Clayton Kershaw. Even though he's pitching in the NL, he is an MVP winner. He is a 3-time Cy Young winner, 8-time All-Star, has a Gold Glove as well. Won the Triple Crown. I believe that was the year that he won his MVP. 5-time ERA title. And all around, Texas dude. That might be more of the, like I said, no one vibes that I'm getting here. He's a little bit younger. He is coming off his tragically worst season since his rookie year in 2008 when he was just 20 years old. This year he missed a lot of time, 3 months with a elbow injury, and his timeline to come back is a little bit clearer, a little bit less time off than Justin Verlander. Like I said, Justin Verlander had Tommy John in the fall of 2020, so he's probably going to be about ready in the beginning spring training of 2022. But again, Verlander is going to be 39 and just coming off basically 2 full seasons out of baseball. But Clayton Kershaw missed 3 months this season due to an elbow injury, and in early October, he told the media that he received a PRP injection in his left flexor tendon, and he would not have to have surgery this offseason, that he would be ready for the season, for next season. He declined to talk about free agency because that's kind of the Clayton Kershaw way. He's not going to talk about it. But yeah, this guy has been absolutely incredible. His peak, the year he won the MVP, pitched 198.1 innings, struck out 239, had an ERA plus of 197, an actual ERA of 177. Extremely sub-2 ERA. The guy was absolutely outrageously good. The next year he followed up with 232 innings, struck out 301 batters. It'd been a long, long time since anybody had struck out that many batters in a season. Then, of course, Clayton Kershaw and Garrett Cole had to go and strike out 300 batters later on that year. And for some reason, Jake Arrieta won the Cy Young that year, and we see where Jake Arrieta is now compared to him. But, it's neither here nor there. He did have a little bit better of a season. Also, Zach Greinke had a little bit better of a season. It fell all the way to 3rd in Cy Young voting, which, for him in his prime was absolutely unthinkable. Then he also had his best season ERA-wise, age 28, finished 5th in the Cy Young voting because he only pitched in 149 innings, has had a little bit of durability problems. That has been the only knock on him. He's had back issues and now this elbow issue, but had a 169 ERA in just under 150 innings in 2016. Absolutely insane. Was not an all-star this year, was an all-star in 2019, only pitched in 121 and 2/3 innings. So you're probably only going to get about 100 to 150 innings from Clayton Kershaw, I think, next year. I feel like that's about reasonable to assume. He's going to be 34 years old next season, turning 34 at, actually 2 days before my birthday. I didn't realize that. March 19th. That's fun. Anyway, but he's a little bit younger. There's a little bit more history of wear and tear, but I do think he's going to hold up a little bit better in the long term, like a 3 to 5 year deal. Maybe 5 years is what it would take to get him to sign in Texas. I know he still has family here. He lives here in the off season. He likes Texas from what I know of him. Not that we're close personal friends, but obviously if he keeps living here and his family's here and he grew up here and so did his wife, then that makes sense for him to come live here in the off season and maybe take a look at coming to the Rangers. There is some thought that before he signed this super duper maximum extension, that he might come and pitch in Texas, but the Rangers didn't have the money. Nobody had the money to match that contract offer that started in 2015. Gosh, if he had come to the Rangers in 2015, having him on that staff with Cole Hamels and Yu Darvish and Adrian Beltre, and oh gosh, I'm getting sad just thinking about all the possibilities that were wasted by that not happening, but it's fine. $32 million that year and over $30 million every year since. He has made $257.6 $256.70142 million in his career. That's $257 million, 701,142. I feel like these random numbers at the end of the season, at the end for arbitration and stuff like that. Actually, no, this is also in his extension. Usually the contract extensions are, more of a round number. The last 3 seasons, he's made exactly $31 million. Obviously, at the start, you have your base pay, but it's just always kind of weird to me how it's these random, all right, how do you get to $429 at the end of the 2015 $571,429? It just doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, point is he's made a lot of money in his career. He's pitched in LA. He has won a World Series. He has won several Cy Youngs. He has been universally acknowledged as one of the greatest pitchers of his generation, if not the greatest pitcher of his generation, if not the greatest pitcher of all time. I think injuries kind of robbed him of being able to continue to establish his dominance, because during his peak, there are very few players that are anywhere close to him. I always forget that Max Scherzer is also kind of in this conversation because he's still very much in his prime at age 37. His prime has been absolutely insane. Being an All-Star from 2013 to every year that there's been an All-Star game since 2013, he has been on an All-Star team. So a 3-time Cy Young winner. Really part of the reason why Justin Verlander didn't win as many Cy Youngs, and vice versa. Both these guys have been absolutely insane. And I don't think that the Rangers are going to be in the conversation for Max Scherzer because he is still in his prime. He is still a Cy Young contender this year, which is insane at age 37 that he's still doing that. Age 36. He'll be age 37 next year. But Clayton Kershaw was non-tendered. I realized I forgot to say that when talking about how great Clayton Kershaw is, because, I get caught up in the absolute insanity of his baseball reference page. But he was non-tendered. So that means that the Rangers sign him to a deal this offseason. That means they don't have to give up any draft picks. It wouldn't be their first or second, third overall pick. I believe it would be their second round pick. I got to go double check my math on that, but they're not going to give up a top 5 pick for signing a free agent. Also, who knows if that's even going to happen, because by the time that they're signing these guys, or maybe by the time the next draft rolls around, there'll be something in the new CBA about reworking how restricted free agents work, and maybe teams not giving up their first round picks. I don't know if that's even on the table of what they're discussing. I would like it to be, because I feel like punishing teams for signing free agents is bad. And if you let a guy walk, I don't think you should be rewarded by giving him this qualifying offer. But other guys that were among those to not receive qualifying offers, there's Carlos Rodon, there is John Gray, formerly of the Rockies, Anthony DeSclafani, formerly of the Giants. That was a little bit of a surprise. Carlos Rodon was a huge surprise because he did so well last year. And John Gray, of course, they didn't, give him a qualifying offer because the Rockies GM is run by a pack of people who are just flipping a coin, playing rock, paper, scissors, I don't know, rolling the dice, or rolling a 20-sided die and making random declarative statements on how they're going to run their franchise based off of it, because there's no actual logic, sound reason why they wouldn't at least give the qualifying offer to John Gray. It blows my mind how poorly the Rockies franchise is being run. I know the Rangers are in a bad place. They're in a really bad place. But, at least they're not the Rockies. At least they didn't give up Nolan Arenado for a very minuscule package of prospects. At least they didn't do that. That's exciting. And they might be one of the teams in the mix for 2 of these all-time greats, seeing them in their twilight years, having them mentor these young guys. I mean, they have a bunch of good young pitchers in Cole Winn, in soon-to-be Jack Leiter. Having them be around those guys, I think, is going to be incredibly helpful for them if the Rangers are able to sign them. Obviously, my preference would be Clayton Kershaw. I know he's had the injury problems in the past. The Rangers trading staff, I feel very confident in them. Justin Verlander, would not mind him. You got at least 2 open rotation spots, if not 3. I believe Cole Winn will be knocking on the door towards the end of the season. But for the start of the season, you're definitely going to need some bodies there. And why not go get some old guys? Why not get some old guys? Go teach them, bring them in for when these young guys come up, teach them how to be great, how to work how to, I don't know, all the fun little things that make Justin Verlander himself, make Clayton Kershaw absolutely dominant, show what it takes to be these guys, have them impart their wisdom on these youngins. Because I mean, if Kyle Gibson, no offense to Kyle Gibson, but if Kyle Gibson can make such a big impact on these guys, if Lance Lynn can make a big impact on these guys, imagine having an all-time great. I mean, those guys had pretty decent careers before the Rangers, but nothing. They didn't win any Cy Youngs. They didn't win an MVP, and both Clayton Kershaw and Justin Verlander did. So I think the Rangers should absolutely be going all in on both of these guys. I think make your biggest push to Clayton Kershaw because you have, that home field advantage, if you will, of bringing him home, of him being beloved by Rangers fans, and him getting to spend the final-ish years, however many years he wants, on a team that's close to home, close to his family, and where he lives in the offseason, a place he knows and loves, and a team that he grew up cheering for. So I think that would be awesome for them to get either of these guys. And I have no idea why on earth the Dodgers decided to not extend that qualifying offer to Clayton Kershaw. Maybe he already told them that he's looking very seriously at other teams, and maybe that was their present to him. But they have done nothing but trying to do right by him throughout his entire career. He won them a World Series. He got them to the playoffs, carried them so many years through his prime, and finally got his ring in this stadium. So why not come and pitch at the place where you got your first ring? And I don't know, maybe if things break really well, maybe you get your second ring at home in a Rangers uniform. I don't know about that. We'll see about that, but it would definitely be nice to have his presence on this team and to be able to watch Clayton Kershaw pitch in a freaking Rangers uniform. That would be incredible. Same with Justin Verlander and some of the other guys. I'm going to talk more about them later on in the week. Hopefully have a guest coming either tomorrow or Wednesday. We will see about that, but I'll let you know more about that when I know about that. So that's going to do it for this edition of Locked On Rangers. Thank you for making Locked On Rangers your first listen of the day. And until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.